Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hi everyone, this is Mallika Pathak from Miranda House, University of Delhi. Today we will be continuing with the course on conductance for the students of BSc Honours Chemistry and BSc with Chemistry. This is Module 9, Lecture 1 of the series. The academic expert of the course is Dr. Amrita T. Sheikh, and the recording is being done under the DTH Swayam Prabha project of the MHRD New Delhi. Let's recall what we did in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, we looked at the variation of molar conductivity with dilution for strong and weak electrolyte. We discussed two theories which are used to explain this variation, Debye-Huckel-on-Sagar theory and Arrhenius theory of electrolytic dissociation. We looked at two of the exceptions to Debye-Huckel-on-Sagar theory in the form of Wien effect and Debye-Falkenhagen effect. Now let's continue with the theme of conductance. Today we will look at the factors which influence molar conductivity. Then we will look at why do we have high molar conductivities of H plus and OH minus ions and its explanation. Then we will take a look at ionic mobility and its relationship with ionic speed, followed by a look at the transport number. So continuing with the class, we start with what are the factors which influence molar conductivity. So let's revise what is the definition of molar conductivity. Molar conductivity is defined as the conductance of a solution of electrolyte containing 1 mole of the electrolyte placed between two parallel electrodes which are unit distance apart and have area of cross section large enough to contain the whole volume of the solution. The formula was lambda m is equal to kappa by C, where kappa if is expressed in Siemens meter inverse and C in mole per meter cube, then lambda m is expressed in terms of Siemens meter square mole inverse. But if we were to express kappa in Siemens centimeter inverse and concentration in moles per liter or moles per decimeter cube, then we will have to multiply this kappa by C with 1000, and then we will get the lambda m in the units of Siemens centimeter square mole inverse. We've already done this in detail in the previous class. It was just a revision for you to recall what is molar conductivity. Now, the molar conductivity values of any electrolyte and its ions depend on the charge on the ions, their radius, and the mechanism of transfer. So, if you have a charge of +1, +2, there's going to be a difference between the two ions if they have +1 and if there is a difference if it is +2. So the charge, because the charge will change and the radius will change, automatically the values of molar conductivity will change. We will look at how this is explained. Then some of the ions, like we have talked about, H plus and OH minus, have a different mechanism of transfer as compared to the other ions, which will result in a value of molar conductivity which is very different from the other ions. So let's start with this. Now let's look at the values of molar conductivity of ions. These are limiting molar conductivity values, that is molar conductivity values at infinite dilution. Just see, you have H plus ion and you have lithium ion. Just see the difference. In the case of H plus ions, the value is 3.4982 into the 10 to the power 2 in the units of Siemens centimeter square mole inverse, whereas for the lithium it is 0.387 into 10 to the power 2. So H plus is 3.4982 into 10 to the power 2 and lithium is 0.382 into 10 to the power 2. So the difference is really, it is 5 to 10 times more than for other ions. So H plus values are 5 to 10 times more than the other cations. Just see the values. The cations are Li plus, Na plus, K plus, Mg2 plus, Ca2 plus, Sr2 plus, Al3 plus, Fe3 plus, Le3 plus. And just see this variation. Also, just see when you increase the charge on the ions, the values of lambda m are increasing. When you compare the ions in one group, that is LiNaK, you see that the values are increasing as you go down the group, although the size of the ions is also increasing. Now let's look at the anions. In the case of OH minus anion, just see the values in comparison to F minus, Cl minus, Br minus are very, very different. This value is 0.554 and this value is 1.98 into 10 to the power 2. So the difference between OH minus and the other anions is very large. Also, again, just see if you have monovalent ion and if you have divalent ion, the values are different. Divalents have, if you have a negative charge of 2, you have high values. If you have negative charge of 1, the values are lower. If you have a negative charge of 3 or 4, the values even become higher. So as you increase the charge on the ions, the molar conductivity values increases, and that should be recalled because the charge on the ion is increasing. Let's look at the comparison of molar conductivities of alkali metal ions to understand the variation of molar conductivity values based on the nature, charge, and other factors. Now, as we go down the group in the alkali metal series, Li plus, Na plus, K plus, Rb plus, Cs plus, we know that the size should increase. The radius should increase. Now let's look at the values of lambda infinity values. The lambda infinity values here shows that lithium ion has a value of 30 to 38.66, sodium 50.11, K plus 73.52, Rb plus 77.8, Cs plus 77.3. So as you are going down the group, the values of lambda infinity are increasing. So if the lambda infinity values are increasing, then based on the Stokes law, which states lambda infinity is equal to Fez plus upon 6 pi eta r plus, we would assume that cesium ion should have the least radius. Now that is not true. We already know from our studies in previous classes that alkali metal ions, as we go down the group, that the radius of the ions increases. But if we were to look at this equation and the values of lambda infinity, we would feel that the radius of lithium ion is more than the radius of cesium plus ions. Now if this factor is wrong and this is true, that the radius of lithium plus is much smaller than that of cesium plus, then how do we explain this? This is explained on the basis of solvation. So when you put any ion in a solution, then the ions of the ions of the electrolyte get solvated. Whether we are putting them in water, then they are called as hydration atmosphere, but if you put them in any solution, then they are called as solvation atmosphere. So the solvation is taking place, or the hydration is taking place, if we put the ions in the solution. Now what does this depend upon? What does this hydration depend upon? This depends upon the charge density. So more is the charge density of an ion, more is the number of molecules attached to the ions. So if I were to look at the crystallographic radius of the ions, then as we go down the group, the crystallographic radius is increasing, but the charge on the ions are same, Li plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So therefore charge density would be in the order Li plus more than Na plus more than K plus more than Rb plus, because size was smallest for lithium but the charge was same for all the ions. So charge density is maximum for lithium. Because the charge density is maximum for lithium, it's most hydrated as compared to the other ions. The hydration will decrease as we are going down the group. Therefore, the actual radii of the ions in the solution with the water molecules or with the solvent molecules attached to it would be in the order that the lithium ion should be most solvated and therefore would have a radii in solution which is much higher than the other ions. So the actual radii of the ions in the solution will be in the order of Li plus more than Na plus more than K plus more than Rb plus, which is what was predicted by Stokes' law. So it is completely correct, but it has to be explained on the basis of the solvation. So if this is the actual radii of the ions in the solution, then the molar conductivity values are well explained, because if the ion radius is more for lithium because of the presence of solvent molecules or the water molecules, then it has become bulky and will find it difficult to move through the solution. Therefore, its ionic conductivity is going to be less. And as the hydration is decreasing, the molar ionic conductivity will increase, which is what is observed and which is what is correct. Now let's look at the abnormally high values of molar conductivities that we were seeing for H plus and OH minus ions. We saw that the H plus and OH minus have values which were 10 times or 5 times more than the other ions. This was explained by von Grotthuss, and that is why it is called as Grotthuss mechanism. According to von Grotthuss, the proton is moving rapidly from one water molecule to another water molecule. This is called as proton jump. This proton jump allows the movement of H plus ions from one water molecule to another water molecule instead of physically moving through the solution the way all the other ions have to do. So other ions are actually moving through the solution, they are physically moving through the solution, whereas in the case of H plus and OH minus ion, it is the proton, both in H plus and the OH minus ions, it is the proton which is moving from one water molecule to another water molecule, which makes their movement through the solution very, very fast, leading to a very high values of molar conductivities of the ions, H plus and OH minus. Now, this is a diagram which you can draw in your notebooks to better understand it. You have a hydronium ion, H3O plus. The H plus from this hydronium ion will jump to the neighboring water molecule. This neighboring water molecule will then become a hydronium ion, and the H plus from this neighboring water molecule will then jump to the other water molecule. So this with the proton, because it is jumping from one water molecule to another, its movement is faster. Its value of molar conductivities will obviously be much faster than the other ions in the solution. And this was explained by von Grotthuss. And so it is called as Grotthuss mechanism. Now let's look at the effect of the viscosity of the solvents on the molar conductivity values of various ions. In this table, we are given three solvents: acetone, methyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, and the values of viscosity are given: 0.316, 0.547, 1.2 in millipascal second. Now, just see the values of K plus and Li plus in these solvents, both K plus and Li plus. The K plus values on moving from acetone to methyl alcohol to ethyl alcohol are decreasing. The Li plus values are also decreasing on moving from acetone to methyl alcohol to ethyl alcohol. So the lambda infinity values are decreasing as the viscosity of the solvent is increasing. This is very well explained through the equation that was given by Stokes, which says lambda infinity values is inversely proportional to the eta. The eta increases, lambda plus infinity decreases. Eta decreases, lambda infinity will increase. So when you move to a higher viscosity solvent, the movement of the ions will decrease. Because these movement will decrease, therefore their lambda infinity values will decrease. Now, what is the effect of temperature and pressure on the values of limiting molar conductivities? When you increase the temperature, the value of molar conductivities are found to increase. But when you increase the pressure, the values are found to decrease. Now, this effect due to temperature and pressure are both due to viscosity. When you increase the temperature, the viscosity decreases, leading to an increase in the molar ionic conductivity. But when you increase the pressure, it results in an increase in the viscosity values. And because the viscosity has increased, the values of lambda infinity will decrease. So temperature and pressure have different effects. Increasing the temperature results in increase in the value of molar ionic conductivity, whereas increase in the pressure decreases the value of molar ionic conductivity. Now let's look at a term called as ionic mobility. Although at infinite dilution, all electrolytes are completely dissociated, their molar conductances differ vastly from one another. This is because of the difference in the speed of these ions. Example, the molar conductance at infinite dilution of HCl is more than 3 times as high as that of NaCl. Since Cl minus is common, it follows that the speed of H plus is more than 3 times of the speed of Na plus. Now, because we know that the speed of the ion varies with the potential applied, it is better to use a term called ionic mobility. Ionic mobility is defined as the distance travelled by an ion per second under a potential gradient of 1 volt per meter. I am repeating, it is defined as the distance travelled by an ion per second under a potential gradient of 1 volt per meter. What is gradient? Anything divided by distance is called as gradient, and therefore potential gradient is going to be equal to potential difference divided by the distance between the electrodes. Now, what are the units of ionic mobility? The SI units are going to depend upon the SI units of speed and SI units of potential gradient. The SI unit of speed is meter per second and the SI unit of potential gradient is volts per meter. So, the unit of ionic mobility is going to be meter square per volt per second. Let's try and look at this numerical to have a better understanding of ionic mobility. A potential of 12 volts was applied to two electrodes placed 20 cm apart. Our dilute solution of ammonium chloride was placed between the electrodes. When NH4 plus ions was found to cover a distance of 1.60 cm in 1 hour. What is the mobility of NH4 plus ions? Now we know that ionic mobility is equal to speed upon potential gradient. We are given the speed, it is 1.60 cm in 1 hour. Let's convert it into meter per second. So this is going to be equal to 1.60 into 10 to the power minus 2 meter divided by 3600, and that is going to be giving you the speed in meter per second. Now what is potential gradient? Potential upon distance between the electrodes. So potential is 12 volts, distance is 20 centimeter. Let's convert this centimeter into meter. So 12 upon 20 into 10 to the power minus 2 meter. That is going to be potential gradient. Let's just put these value and you will get the value of ionic mobility. So we get the value 7.41 into 10 to the power minus 8 meter square per volt per second. Now let's look at some of the points which are related to ionic mobility. The ionic mobility is extremely small as compared to the speed of gaseous molecules, which is found to be about 10 to the power 2 meter per second. The low mobility of the ions is due to the fact that there are frequent collisions between the ions and the solvent molecules, since the mean free path of molecules in the liquid is very small. The next point, lithium and sodium ions have comparatively lower ionic mobilities because of high charge density due to their small radii, resulting in them being more heavily hydrated by ion dipole interactions. Next, the ionic mobility of H plus ions is found to be 5 to 10 times that of other ions except OH minus ions. The hydrogen ion, because of its small size and high charge density, is heavily hydrated. This should predict mobility of H plus to be low rather than high. The high mobility of H plus ions in hydroxylic solvents such as water can be explained by Grotthuss type of mechanism, in which a proton moves rapidly from H3O plus to a hydrogen bonded water molecule by the rearrangement of hydrogen bonds. Now let's look at another term called as transport number. Now current flows through the solution due to the migration of ions of the electrolyte. The fraction of the total current carried by an ion is called as transport number. I am repeating, the fraction of the total current carried by an ion is called as the transport number of that ion. Let us say I is the total current flowing through the solution. Then the contribution by the cations is I plus and that of anions is I minus. Now T plus, the transport number of the cation is going to be equal to I plus upon I, and the transport number of the anion is going to be I minus upon I. So the fraction of the total current carried by the ion is called its transport number. Now during electrolysis, the current is carried by the anions and the cations both, and the amount carried by each is proportional to their speed. We already know that some of the current will be carried by cation, some of the current will be carried by anion, and the fraction of the current which they will be carrying will be depend upon their speed. Now if U plus and U minus represent the speed of migration of the cation and the anion, U plus that of cation, U minus that of anion, then U plus upon U plus plus U minus represent the fraction of the current carried by the cation, and U minus upon U plus plus U minus represent the fraction of the current carried by the anion, which is what is transport number. This is also called as Hittov's number. I am repeating, fraction of the current carried by the cation is transport number of the cation. Fraction of the current carried by the anion is called as the transport number of the anion. Now T plus we have said is equal to I plus upon I, and it is also equal to U plus upon U plus U minus, and T minus is equal to I minus upon I, which is equal to U minus upon U plus U minus. So if I divide the two, T plus upon T minus, we get U plus upon U minus. That is, transport number is proportional to the speed of migration of the ions. Transport number of the ions are directly proportional to their speed. When T plus is equal to T minus, both the ions contribute equally to the transport of the current. When U plus is not equal to U minus, T plus will not be equal to T minus, and the two ions will carry different proportion of the current. Because the transport numbers are fraction of electric charges, therefore their sum is always going to be equal to 1. Now we know that the ionic mobility is equal to ionic speed upon potential gradient. Let's try and derive this relationship. Let a volume Vm of the solution contain 1 mole of the substance being placed between two parallel electrodes. Let D be the distance between these two electrodes. The electrodes are large enough to include between them the whole of the solution. In a unit time as seen earlier, the total current flowing through these electrodes is given by I plus I minus. So the current carried by the cation plus current carried by the anion. Now if the distance moved by the cation in unit time is V plus, then the current carried by that cation in that unit time will be equal to the number of cations which are lying in that distance, the number of charges which are carried by the cation in that unit time. Now let's suppose the total number of cations in the solution is N plus, right? And the total number of charge on that cation is Z plus. So N plus into Z plus is the total number of charges into E. So N plus Z plus into E. This is the total charge carried by the cation in the solution. Now how much is the charge carried by the cation in that distance? That will be plus unitary manner. N plus Z plus into E upon D into V plus. So this is the total charge carried by the cation in that distance V which it has moved. So N plus Z plus E into V plus by D. Similarly, let's say the total charge on the anions is N minus Z minus into E. Then the charge in the distance V will be equal to N minus Z minus E upon D into V minus. Now let us suppose that one mole of the substance has N plus and N minus number of cations and the anions. These N plus and N minus are related to the Avogadro constant Na by the expression N plus is equal to nu plus into Na and N minus is equal to nu minus into Na. So just to recall, if 1 mole of the substance, let's say calcium chloride will carry 1 cation calcium and 2 chloride anions. So if I want to talk about 1 mole of the substance, that will be equal to 1 cation will be equal to the number of cations will be equal to 1 into Avogadro number, and the number of Cl minus will be equal to 2 into Avogadro number. So N plus N minus. Now let's just solve this. So I is equal to I plus I minus. Now because N plus is equal to nu plus into Na and N minus is equal to nu minus into Na, and if I substitute into this equation, we get NaE upon D, which is multiplied by nu plus Z plus V plus nu minus Z minus V minus. Now we know that the current carried by 1 mole of electrons is called as Faraday constant. So we replace NaE by F. So F upon D, nu plus Z plus V plus nu minus Z minus V minus. Just to point out, this nu is the stoichiometric coefficient and the stoichiometry of the cation and the anion in the 1 mole of the substance, and V plus is the speed or the distance moved in unit time. Now let's recall what is molar conductivity. We know that molar conductivity is equal to lambda is equal to kappa by C, which can be written as kappa into Vm. Now what is Vm? D into Am. D is the distance between the electrodes and A is the area of cross section of the platinum electrodes. So kappa into Vm can be written as kappa into D into Am. Now this lambda can be written in terms of G, or G can be written in terms of lambda. Let's try and write it down. Now we know that G is equal to kappa into A by D. Here D upon A is equal to cell constant. So G is equal to kappa into A by D. Now instead of kappa, let's substitute the value obtained from here, lambda upon D into AM. If I substitute here, then G can be written as lambda upon D square. G can be written as lambda upon D square. So according to the Ohm's law, we know that I is equal to V upon R, or delta phi. Delta phi is the potential difference across the electrodes. So delta phi upon R, which can be written as delta phi into G. Now just put the values. I is equal to delta phi into lambda by D square. So we've got this value, I is equal to delta phi upon D square. Now we know this I and the previous I that we had got are both equal. So F by D, nu plus Z plus V plus nu minus Z minus V minus is equal to delta phi by D square into lambda. This is lambda. Now this lambda, this is the molar conductivity of the electrolyte. So this can be written in terms of ionic conductivities also. So using Kohlrausch law, I substitute the value of ionic conductivities in the electrolyte. So F by D, nu plus Z plus V plus infinity, because we are using Kohlrausch law, plus nu minus Z minus V minus infinity is equal to delta phi upon D square. Instead of lambda, we are writing nu plus lambda plus infinity plus nu minus lambda minus infinity, where lambda plus infinity is the molar ionic conductivity at infinite dilution of the cations and the anions. Now if I equate these two, the left and the right hand side, I get V plus infinity. This is the speed. The speed of the cation at infinite dilution is equal to delta phi upon D into lambda plus infinity upon Z plus F. And I get V minus infinity, which is the speed of the anion, is equal to delta phi upon D lambda minus infinity upon Z minus F. Now what is delta phi by D? It is nothing but potential gradient, because delta phi is the potential and D is the distance, so potential gradient. So we had defined ionic mobility. Ionic mobility is nothing but speed of the ion when potential gradient is unity. So if delta phi by D is equal to 1, then U plus is equal to V plus infinity. So U plus infinity is equal to V plus infinity upon delta phi by D, but if it is 1, then U plus infinity is equal to V plus infinity. So lambda plus U plus infinity is in fact equal to lambda plus infinity upon Z plus F, and U minus infinity is equal to lambda minus infinity upon Z minus F. So this shows that U is proportional to delta phi by D, that is the ionic mobility is interpreted as the proportionality constant between the ionic speed and the electric field. Now if this was done at infinite dilution, if this was done at any other concentration, then U plus can be written as lambda plus upon Z plus F, and U minus is equal to lambda minus upon Z minus F. That means the molar ionic conductivity is related to the ionic speed or ionic mobility. So here lambda minus infinity is molar ionic conductivity, and that is equal to ionic mobility. So ionic mobility is related to molar ionic conductivity through this equation. So U plus is equal to lambda plus upon Z plus F, U minus equal to lambda minus upon Z minus F. Now the units we have already said are nothing but meter square per volt per second, because they depend upon speed upon potential gradient. Now let's look at this numerical. We are given the mobility of the chloride ion in water at 25 degrees centigrade. We are to calculate the molar conductivity of the ion at infinite dilution. How long will it take for the ion to travel between the two electrodes separated by 4 cm if the electric field is this much? So this is nothing but potential gradient, right? So just to give you an idea, please, if you are not able to understand the terms that are mentioned in the numericals, please take a look at units. The units give you an idea upon what quantity we are talking about. So we want to first find out the value of molar conductivity, and what is our units? Lambda plus infinity is equal to u minus infinity into f, because our u minus infinity was equal to what? Lambda plus infinity upon z minus into f, and because we are talking about chloride ions, so z minus is equal to 1, so lambda minus infinity is equal to u minus infinity into f. So 96,500 coulomb per mole is the value of f. We just put the value of u minus and we get the value of lambda minus infinity. Now the next question was, how long will this ion take to travel between the two electrodes separated by 4 cm if the electric field is this much? Now, so we are given the value. What was u? U was given as v upon delta phi by d. So v will be equal to u into delta phi by d. Speed is equal to mobility into potential gradient. We are given the value of ionic mobility. We just multiply by potential gradient and we get the value of ionic speed. Now that we've got the speed, we can get the value of time. Time is equal to distance upon speed. We are given the distance, which is 0.040 meter. We are given the value of speed and we just substitute and we get it in the terms of seconds. We can also convert it into minutes. So this way we have seen how ionic speed and ionic mobility are related. So just to recall what we did in today's class, we looked at the factors which influence molar conductivity. We looked at Groth's mechanism to explain the high molar conductivities values of H plus and OH minus. Then we understood what is ionic mobility, how is it related to ionic speed, and what is the role of ionic mobility in explaining the molar conductivity. Then we also defined a term called as transport number, which is the fraction of the total current carried by the ions. We will be working more on the transport number in the next few classes. That's it for today. Stay home, stay safe, take care of your health and your family members. Bye-bye.